I'm deeply confused. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are back on Jinx Did Nothing Wrong. And I'm like, I looked up here, and then I went down here, and then I see we have 4 cards here. Just 4? I mean, maybe. I mean, they definitely dropped some. How many cards did they drop? 1, 2, technically. Oh yeah, by the way, I heard a rumor that this is gonna actually turn into a spider, supposedly. It really should, just kind of makes more sense. Okay, I can't believe they do that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess. So 6 cards before. And now they're dropping whatever the hell this is. I don't know. Whatever, I have no idea. Let's just go from the left to the right. And we got Ferocious Fluffs. 7 cost bird. Okay, looks like a chubby chocobo. In the city that's Bandle, a 6/6. And it has impact. When I'm summoned, grant other allies that have subtypes +1/+1 and impact. So it's more, we're going deeper and deeper into the subtype thing. So it looks like we're probably gonna get that character next, I guess, because even the last couple of reveals were about subtype. So I'm assuming that we are gonna get this archetype. And so when I'm summoned, grant other allies that have subtypes. So this character will not be getting it. So other allies that have subtypes. And it doesn't have to be different, so it could be another bird. It doesn't matter. So all bird fight, activate. They'll get +1/+1 in impact. I think this card's ass. Again, it's all about the swarm, and it's on a bird. I think it's very specific that they're gonna probably make it that it's an animal-based thing, and it's not gonna have anything to do with, like, oh, it could be a leech or something like that. They're gonna maybe force animal subtypes, which seems a little weird to do, but yeah, I think this is ass just because of how it costs 7, right? Summons, gives a bunch of stuff +1 in impact. Like literally, if you think about like Demacia Allegiance, cards like 4 costs +1/+1 everything. As long as you hit Allegiance, seems a little bit better. But I don't know. Obviously, yes. Condense is it's in the region of condense, so you could condense this after you play it again, give everyone again +1/+1 and impact. I don't know. I think its cost is too much. I think its cost should be much lower, honestly. Giving impact is pretty cool and all, but I think its cost should be dramatically lower. I think this should be like a 4-drop or something like that. I don't think that this 4-drop obviously lower its stats a little bit. Its effect to me is not that strong. Next card up. Return a wrench. It's 2 wrenches put together. I like it. So, and it states, when I'm discarded, equip me to a random unequipped ally. So, oh, okay, it has impact. I'm like, why the hell would I want to do that? So what's cool about that is it kind of synergizes with the last card that we had, right? So about the hand being discarded. So this card, when it's discarded, immediately goes on to another unit, so it always will do that. What's cool about this is that it does, I mean, Ionia is not really a discard region, but there is other combos about when a card is first equipped, then something happens, right? So maybe you can do even like a couple of the whatchamacallit cards that would be nice. I think Freya, but both Freya, Bandle City has a little bit of discard because of Rumble, right? But not too much, right? It's not like end all be all, so it just seems really strange. Bandle City discard, you're playing this card, you know, you're playing the mecha stuff, you can discard it, but it equips a random ally, so you I think this card is pretty cheeks as well. But yeah, it's like you know, like Flame Chomper is just discarded and something else happens, but it's random. And that card, all they're getting is no additional stats, and they're literally just getting impact. Like I said, there are some times where that could be done. Obviously, you can forge the hell out of this, right? If you do forge it, right? If you forge it, then you can use it as discard fodder, as a discard cost, and then you're gonna give a random ally. And also, if there's not other allies on the field, then it will just keep equipping in the same unit, right? But outside of that, all those lovely points, this card's ass. This card is ass. I just don't think that that discard meta is that hard. I mean, like I said, what is that? That would have been this card. Okay, stop. No! Where is it? I didn't look at the card. I'm really good at this. So Bilgewater, you know, to have the fleeting discarding, especially if you would have called. Remember, there's a lot of draw in Bilgewater. that makes cards fleeting, right? If this card is fleeting, it will then be discarded, right? So this is another free draw as well, as much as discard. There's ways to make it work. I just don't think that, like, if it had at least +1/+1, I think it'd be decent. But the fact that it has no stats whatsoever and it's just impact is what makes it a little doo-doo for me. Star-crossed lovers, babe, watch out. All right, so we have 3 mana 2/2. Play, recall an ally and grant it my stats. What? Now there's a lot. Obviously that's hand buff city, right? That's hand buff city. In my stats, if it said keywords too, it'd be, you know, I'd be like Void Gate. But it's obviously that you're looking to boost this card in the hand or in the deck, right? And then when you play it, you recall a card. I don't know necessarily if you want that card to be cheap or not, but like it is cool, especially if a card is, you know, silenced or something like that. It's been through the ringer, it's been attacked, it's been blocking, all that good stuff. It's been pinged, and then the next turn you play this. It basically, essentially, this is a giving any card +2/+2. It is not a skill, so it just happens. I don't actually think that Targon recall. I'm thinking like Ionia with like Ari. I don't think that that's ever been a thing, but it is a instantaneous recall. And you could use it on a champion. Let's say you want to do that and then replay it. There's actually a decent amount of stuff. What's also I like about this, as far as for faded, right? You can recall a faded unit. Yeah, it doesn't get the little. It gets the buff and then it goes away, but then it comes back as a 2, at least at the minimum +2/+2. I actually really like this card. It's pretty interesting, and it makes me think about have we tried as a community? Targonian recall. Have we tried that before? It's just really interesting to see recall. And it's only one card, so it's not like you really want to do it. But are there a couple of cards that, like some of the manifest cards, that potentially maybe you want to replay them to get their effect back and then play them again? If you play this on a cheap unit or a unit that reduces its cost, I'm thinking Targon, so like the Orbiter, whatever his name is, that would be a decent one, right? You can replay him, he's cheapened based on how many times you support, and then you get to replay him with better stats. Or if you play like a rally kind of card, something like that, and then maybe you get to rally again. There's a lot of ways to use this card. It's very flexible. It's interesting, but so far 3 out of 4, not too crazy. Let's go to the last one, which is the Sump Monument. Look at that thing. And you guys know I just did a Ava the Achiever deck. So what are we doing with the puff caps? If your Nexus would take non-puff cap damage, your opponent plants 4 puff caps in your deck for each damage instead. Wait, hold up. Wait. Is that instance of damage? If your Nexus would take non-poison puff cap damage, your opponent plants 4 poison puff caps in your deck for each damage. Now, I'm assuming when it says each damage, right? So if you're going to take 10 damage, it's going to then put 10 times 4 puff caps in your deck. So it's going to put 40 puff caps in your deck instead of you taking the 10 damage. Now, it'd be busted if it's 1 instance of damage. It doesn't matter that it's 10. It just puts 4 in. I highly doubt it works like that. I'm assuming it does that. Now, what the hell does that mean? One, the first thing is that this is an insanely cool way to put a shit ton of puff caps in your own deck, right? You have this big, massive attack. You actually could hold this in your hand, right? So you could hold this in your hand. You need to buy a turn, which is really weird to give PNZ this, but you want to buy a turn, right? You literally cannot die. You cannot die if you put this at the end of your turn and they have open attack lethal. They literally can't end the game because they will put, even if you have, you know how we fuck around, right? And you have like negative 100 something, 160 whatever damage, right? They can do all of that damage to you. You can let the attack go through, and it doesn't matter. This actually counters a lot of like weird lethals, right? Because they actually will have to take the monument out in order to lethal you that turn. However, obviously the next time you draw, oops. but let's make this even worse. Let's say that they do that big attack, and then you mill your deck, or then you add cards into your deck. This actually is very interesting because, especially with PNZ, and any type of cards that could put stuff into your deck, they could plant a bunch of stuff on those cards, and then you could refill your deck with a bunch of stuff and literally potentially never take damage at all. I think that the irony of this card, not only I think it has supreme meme potential, but I would love to see if you could like never hit that, like have a very high amount, but put so many additional cards in your deck through counterfeit copies, through you know, there's a jillion ways to fill your deck out, and then you do that. Or you run toss, right? You run toss, and then you have a goal to like toss the cards that have the puff caps on it, right? Which is, it's obviously really dangerous, right? Because you're also running the risk of tossing too many cards, and then like all the puff caps are on one card, but maybe they're all on that one card, and then you toss it, but eventually it will just be champions in your deck. But could you do that and then still have a way to, let's say you have a cycle going, so that you take all the damage, they put everything on that one card, and then you toss that one card that has all the damage, and then you replace it with something else. There's a lot of fun shit you could do with the Sumpworks Monument, the Sump Monument. There's so much stuff you could do with that. But at the very least, at the bare minimum, it is a 3-cost get out of jail free card for at least one turn. And there's a potential, depending on at what point of the thing, like imagine an aggro deck, right? Aggro deck is like, ha ha ha, I have open attack lethal, you drop this thing on 3, they don't have landmark removal because why the fuck would they? And their open attack lethal just doesn't look good anymore. They can attack you to put puff caps in the deck for potentially 20 damage, 20 times 4, 80 puff cap. 20 times 4 is the 80. I doubted myself for a second. 80 puff caps into the deck, right? Does not, and you're only drawing one card the next turn. So the potential of you still taking at least 20 damage is relatively still low, right? Like if you have full HP or whatever like that, right? So even if you were to put this out pretty early, even that lethal, they still have to hope that you draw into enough puff caps. What if you also combine this with healing? What if you, obviously, like, you take some puff cap damage and heal? My thing obviously would be like, if this became meta, you just drop Ava, and it's like, you want to test? You really want to test? Also, which you know you really can't do, it'd be interesting if your opponent was to nab it. That would actually be another really interesting thing. They play the Sumpworks Monument, and then you have to try to nab their card to lethal yourself. That would be a fun challenge, right? A very interesting thing. You take someone's poison puff cap card to lethal yourself. That would be interesting. I was ending my video, and then all of a sudden I refresh, and then there's more? What the hell? What the hell? Yeah, they need to. I honestly think, if I'm just being honest, I have to do another part of recording. I honestly think that when all this got released, right, when the leaks happened, I think that they should have just released it. They did it once, right? And we just had all content creators had to look at all the cards, and we just had to wait for the expansion to drop. I actually would prefer that. I don't know, especially based off what happened. So let's go into the gaps. I just spent a lot of time talking about the Sumpworks Monument. Let's look at this card. The 4-cost Yordle Portal Scholar. When I'm summoned, plant a mysterious portal in the top 4 cards of the deck. When you summon a created ally, granted impact. That is awesome. That's a solid ass card. I can't even. I literally can't argue with that. It's a really good card, especially created ally. It could be literally any created ally. It doesn't have to be specifically from a portal. It's basically a 4-cost that helps everything that comes out of a portal, plus husk, plus everything. Every husk that is generated, let's say you're going with Portal Evelyn, Nora Evelyn, which was a deck, all your husks will have impact. And if the husk itself gets impact, then it will give whatever +2 impact, which is fantastic. Pretty cool card, solid. Thank you, because these other cards were scaring me, man. I'm like, yo, these other cards is kind of cheeks. But what is this? Age of Dragons. For the top 9 cards in your deck, draw each dragon and reduce their cost to 0 this round. Then shuffle the rest into your deck. Excuse me, what? What the hell is that? What is this? What is this? Okay, so 12 mana Targon, So I'm thinking, obviously, you could try to go Targon, Freljord, ramp it into it. At the most, you're playing this at 9 mana, right? For the top 9 cards in your deck, draw each of the dragons and reduce their cost to 0. I'll give you guys a story, right? Is that my friend thought that the leaks were all like that. The leaks were public to everybody, and the first thing he said, Zoe Aurelian Soul. It's the best. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? So basically, like, this is when like it was the first reveal, right? And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? There was no dragon cards released. And then he's like, oh, I saw the leaks. And I was like, oh, okay. And this must be the card that he was talking about. So Zoe, obviously, because Zoe's on the field, and if Zoe's there, she would see you play the dragons, and it would be a way easier time to level her up. Though that's if without ramp, right? That's turn 9. So I don't know. She should be probably leveled by that time. But then at least all the keywords. And it's from your deck, right? So if you were to generate any dragons that are just generated in your hand, they are not going to be affected by that. Also, if you run a very heavy dragon deck, right? So you could draw a lot of dragons and potentially mill them, and reduce their cost, and then shuffle the rest into your deck. I'm assuming the rest of the cards that aren't dragons. I don't know if you because you draw them, right? So you actually can burn dragons doing this if your hand's kind of full. You're definitely 9 cards. Like, this is the only card left in your hand, and then you pull the god draw. Could happen, but also it doesn't specify. And I think, you know what? That's why he says Aurelian Soul, because it doesn't specify whether or not it is a champion or just a basic unit, right? So it could actually draw Aurelian Soul. I think that's why this kind of looks like Aurelian Soul. But you could literally draw Aurelian Soul with this, play him for 0, plus other dragons, have a full board of nonsense, and then just kind of, I would say at that point, win the damn game. Yeah, it's definitely a finisher, a nice 12 mana card finisher. I approve. I definitely approve of it. There could be some supreme high rolls, but how do you, I guess, make this deck? You could try to make the deck to where there's a ton of dragons. You have to figure out a legitimate, you have to figure out a nice curve, because you don't want to have all these big dragons in your deck and you're going to reduce the cost in this big thing. Probably turn 9, and there are some denies out there. There's, especially with the transform deny, you play this, and then that guy had the freaking bush out there, and he's like, haha, stupid, and then he just denies it. 12 mana, do nothing, so it's dangerous. It's a slow speed spell, so it's not burst, thank God, but like there's a lot of counters to it, I should say. So you definitely, you know what I'm looking forward to? Seeing the animation. I hope the animation, so far the animation of everything else has been phenomenal. So I'm assuming the animation on this has to be amazing. Most big spells, Glorious Evolution, War Mother's Call. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like, a lot of the big mana spells have pretty good animation. Mind Meld is 7 cost and still has a great animation. So the Age of the Dragon should be really cool to see, whatever the animation is. This is definitely a card you'll see a bunch of content creators make out, but I don't think it's going to be like actually good. You'll definitely do the nuts draw, right? Definitely the nuts draw is definitely a thing, but we'll see. What other card did we not see before? The Epic Scrap Traption. 1 cost slow speed spell, 2 play, spend all of your mana, summon a runaway scrap trap, and grow its stats to that amount, to whatever you played. And then this is the scrap trap right here. I'm assuming there it is. It is a 1 cost tech. It already has Brash on it. This is also pretty good. This spell, just because of the tech card that is the one. I think it's 1 or 2 costs. The one that just shares keywords, right? So it could just basically get Brash and then spread Brash to everything else, which is pretty cool. You can see, it has like a bunch of weird techie things like kind of combined into it. Look at the patch Poro in there. But so it's pretty decent to play, spend all your mana, so you can get a 5/5, 1 cost 5/5 with Brash, right? Like spending 5 mana. That's pretty cool. It is 1 cost also. It doesn't say it increases the cost based on that. So it does synergize with the 1 cost stuff as well, for whatever that's worth. Maybe you're playing this PNZ, which PNZ, Evelyn, is a thing. So maybe you have things that's going to give it an extra keyword. So maybe it gets an extra keyword from a Husk or from Solitude. That's another option, I guess. But pretty decent card. I like that it's a tech card as well. That's it. So those other cards, I like this card. I like Age of Dragons, and I like this card. So the other ones that were there before that were extremely lackluster, I guess it makes up for it. But again, I can't predict. This looks like another variety set. And I think that maybe they're doing that because the pack, the expansion itself releases on the 28th, right? So they would, let's say, they usually are finished by the 27th. So in order for them to do that, they'd have to tomorrow release a champion. 26 do another like champion thing again. And then 27 release the last champion, potentially give all those content creators the early access thing like they normally do. And then on the 28th, everything drops for everybody. That's usually what they do. So again, I've got no emails or anything like that, any offers. It sucks to suck. But so I'm assuming that. So I think tomorrow we get a champion. And then the 25th, we get support for the next champion. And 26th, we get that champion. Wait, no, sorry. Yeah, no, 25th, we get the champion. Support for the champion. 27th, that's how I'm assuming it's going to go. And then 28th, everyone gets to have fun. So, what cards of this pack, this reveal did you like the most? Definitely the Hogwarts Monument. That's the thumbnail, 100%. The Age of the Dragon is a close contender for thumbnailness. But the Sump Monument is just, it's too good. Absolutely too good. Like I said, I geeked over it for like a jillion minutes, and it's well deserved. Anywho, that's going to be it for me. Again, peace, bye.